Welcome to You Know His Name, a 007 podcast. I'm your host, Tony Artiga. Returning with me are my wonderful co-hosts, John Morgan, Rick Rodriguez. How you guys doing today, fellas?
I'm good. How are you?
Very, very
I'm
well,
very
thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, that's an exaggeration. I just worked a double yesterday. It's early in the morning. I'm tired. I don't have any food in me, but I'm smoking this J here. Let's get this going.
The dog
I
died.
love it. I love it. So I just want to first of all, thank our viewers. We had to take a pause when our output, life stuff got in the way, but we're ready to get back and rolling. And what better way to get back in the swing of things than by reviewing the latest Bond film, No Time to Die? We're gonna do things a little bit differently. We're gonna just gonna have an overall discussion when we're gonna do a deeper discussion further down the road once we've had some time away from the movie. We're gonna talk some initial thoughts, and then at certain point we are going to do a little spoiler talk, so that we'll let our listeners know if they haven't seen the movie yet, to kind of get them so that way they don't get the movie spoiled for them. But I want to start with John. What are your initial thoughts about No Time to Die, my friend?
I loved it. Yeah, and I'm not a big fan. I think I may have expressed in previous episodes. I'm not a huge fan of the Daniel Craig brand of James Bond, though I definitely admit that I really enjoy Casino Royale and enjoyed parts of Skyfall. I feel like it's mostly misses to me personally. Generally, because I think Eon had this plan to try and make, like a Marvel Cinematic Universe style approach after they saw that was happening in tandem after they released Casino Royale. And I think they wanted to do a more like long form linear storyline. And I don't really think that gels with me. I don't look at James Bond as a superhero. With all of that said, I was a weepy bitch by the end of this movie. Uh, I really love Fukunaga's direction with it, his handle on the pacing and tying up of loose ends with the story. I just think it was a really, really one-two punch of a film and a great way to close the Craig era. But those are my initial thoughts. I want to pass on the mic.
Oh, sure, sure. No, I think yeah, it's totally fair. I I am a big fan of the Daniel Craig era. I don't. I guess the only thing I don't know if they were necessarily trying to go for what the Marvel movies were trying to do, because the Marvel movie started in earnest in 2008, and by then Quantum of Solace had already come out and established itself as a proper sequel. I think it was just an attempt to, all right, this is going to be the Bond era that has a through line through it. And but if that works for you, great. If that doesn't, that's totally fine. That's totally fair. I totally understand folks who just want to have like a Bond film and you can kind of just pick one up randomly and watch it without having to watch the previous ones. And that's not really the case with the Daniel Craig era. Personally, I enjoyed that, and I think, and I too was, a mess after this one. I think, without going too much into it, like I think the way that it ended, I like the idea that this will be the era of Bond that has a through line, and that way, we can move forward and going back to an era where it's like, each individual film isn't necessarily building off the continuity of the previous one or the previous few. It goes back to the idea, like, what, if I'm in the mood to watch Goldeneye, I'm gonna watch Goldeneye. I don't need to necessarily watch License to Kill or Living Daylights before that kind of thing. So, but I loved it. I think it's overall my second favorite of the Craig era. And I think it's a great way to close it out. And there are a lot of really wonderful allusions, not just to previous films, but also to Fleming's work. And we're getting into that in the spoiler talk, but yeah, I absolutely love this movie. So, Rick, what are your thoughts, my friend?
I share basically almost every about the movie itself, every sentiment you guys have said. I It's the Bond movie I've been wanting for quite a long time. where, and it's funny because it's like all the things we've talked about previous episodes and upcoming episodes, in my complaints of like, oh, you know, when all the elements come together, this is how it really feels for me, a great Bond movie. And this one really has all that. It feels adventurous, it feels romantic, it feels exotic with the locales. We've complained about some Craig era stuff where even though the shots were fancy, they were like so technical, such technical exercises that I didn't get absorbed in the location,
Yeah,
you know. And
or
in
the
this one,
the storytelling.
yeah, and in this one, I really felt that. Um, I think the story is very good. If there's any criticisms I have, it's maybe a little bit of a lag in the middle. At least it's just the feeling it has. At least it had for me. But then it revs up quite nicely by the end. Um, and yeah, in terms of the wrap up of the Craig era, I think it was very, very moving and quite good. I really, really liked it a lot. And I would hold that same sentiment that it's just under Casino Royale.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's cool because it's I like that all three of us. I think all three of us. It's kind of weird because I think all three of us are in different places with the Craig era in general. I think it's fair to say that I'm the most enthusiastic. John is the least enthusiastic, with Rick somewhere in the middle. And yet,
Why am I the least enthusiastic? I don't know. I gotta call bullshit on that. And
no,
how's wait? What do you mean? What Rick? Where are you at in the middle? How's the middle feel?
I don't know. It's pretty wobbly. I'm on one foot here.
Yeah, I'm generally like when I scale them, I'm like Casino Royale is like a number one. That's like the most complete start to finish, tropic, well-rounded.
yeah,
I don't need a prequel Bond movie.
yeah,
And then I feel like No Time to Die falls like a close second in
no,
that same respect.
no, for sure. I guess what I'm talking about is that like in terms of like the overall Daniel Craig brand,
Oh
um,
yeah, I mean I've had pushback with
yeah,
this whole era
yeah,
of Bond movies, but I like I said, I do
yeah,
definitely enjoy a Bond movie despite its flaws. So it's
oh,
been
yeah.
it's been an interesting ride to say the least.
Yeah, agreed. I think the point that I was trying to make was that all three of us, in terms of how the Daniel Craig era turned out, in terms of like overall those five films,
Hmm.
we kind of came at No Time to Die in different areas of enthusiasm for the entire like saga up until that point. But
Yeah,
all three of us, this movie really landed, and I'm really and
J-
that's the thing that I find interesting.
just to plug the end of what you're saying with like enthusiasm, because like yeah, I'll admit my enthusiasm was kind of waning by Spectre, but
Yeah,
I was also like I was kind of off the boat by Skyfall because I just thought the story was just not as compelling and kind of like BS. But then I was so once they announced that Kerry Fukunaga was going to be in the director's chair for No Time to Die, I was so thrilled because I'm such a huge fan of True Detective season one, and I was just like I cannot fucking wait to see what this guy's going to do next. And when they announced that, I was like, I don't even care how much I didn't like Spectre or whatever I felt about the other previous three Bonds. Like, this is going to be a good one. And I don't try to build up my expectations so much, in that way. But
yeah. Well,
I,
that's totally fair.
I just had a strong feeling that he was a great choice.
Yeah.
He's a really inspired choice, especially after Sam Mendes.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting move.
No, for sure. I can totally appreciate that. But at the end of the day, this movie landed for us. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna cut after we're gonna count down to 5. All right, and then listeners, this is now is your time to jump off the boat if you don't want to hear spoilers, because
In
we're gonna
summary, the movie is a piece of shit.
Wait,
See it.
spoiler alert.
so we're gonna just get into spoiler talks now.
Yeah. I just want to give our listeners a little bit of a countdown, so that way they give time to kind of pause the episode, and they can come on back whenever they're ready. So in 5,
Whenever they're ready, they
4,
won't even know when to come back.
3, 2, 1. Spoiler talk. All right, let's
I
get
think
it.
I'm ready.
You think you're ready? Okay. Rick,
But
I
it did
want
make
to.
it, Tony, it did make it sound like as if they would need to be emotionally ready
Yeah,
for the spoiler section, as
Yeah,
opposed to
like that
just
James Bond dies is kind of a big deal. We don't want to ruin that for them.
exactly, man. But that's the thing. Now's their time. That was their time to jump off. But you know what?
but
Fuck
now
it.
there's no time.
Wait, there's no time to die.
Oh,
Dun, dun, dun.
So you know what? John, you dived right into it. So why don't you, why don't you take it away, man? James Bond actually dies in this one. This is
I know. I was so fucking like happy about that in a really sadistic way. But like I've always said, like, I think they just need to kill Bond for there to be, some variety in what happens in these movies. I went and saw the movie in IMAX on opening night with a friend, and she loves James Bond to death. And at the end of the movie, she was so fucking angry. And I was so like surprised because I was sitting there very fulfilled by everything that I had just seen. And she's just like, this doesn't make any sense. James Bond's not supposed to die. That doesn't make any sense. And I was laughing. I was just like, but they have to do something different. And I'm not saying that the movie boils down to like, it's the one where James Bond dies. No. They wanted to close a very long arc that they never really tried to attempt in the franchise before.
No.
And I think
Lynn
that
bits and fits and starts never really fulfilled.
yeah, like it always felt like Casino Royale, such a strong start. Quantum of Solace, where are we going? We get into Skyfall. All right, we're kind of back on track now. This is the Bond from the first movie, and they trying to up the stakes. And then Spectre, and then No Time to Die.
I mean, like even I mean even in the thing in the sense of like, okay, on Her Majesty's, Bond's fallen in love and now she's dead.
Mhm.
Whoa, that's a new development. And then the next one is like,
Yeah.
where's Blofeld? Hey, I'm Sean Connery. I
Yeah.
didn't watch the other one, and I'm acting like an old,
And it's the
old
same,
asshole.
and it's the same shit again, and we get back into the formulaic.
Right,
and
it's not, it doesn't emotionally follow through,
Yeah.
and then it's a bunch of movies later, and then he's visiting the grave, and then it's a bunch of movies later. And oh yeah, he was married. The world's worst fucking Felix in License to Kill.
I think when they were trying to I think I maybe stumbled over my words saying that like they wanted to do the Marvel cinematic franchise thing. I guess what I wanted to say is like, these cinematic universes now that we're seeing in like the superhero movies like Marvel, and and that started even earlier before Casino came out. I mean, like just with Iron Man and this whole idea that Kevin Feige had in mind to like, I want to really expand the universe and not just make it like a one-off or a 3-movie franchise for superheroes. Let's make them interconnected. And I know that they don't want to interconnect James Bond with other movies, or maybe they do. I don't know. We'll see what Amazon wants to do. But there's a sort of there's a trend, with Bond being like the ultimate hero in this one in particular, and then having to make the ultimate sacrifice ultimately. And how ultimate can we get? This is ultimate Bond. That was the goal with, I feel like, the storyline. But I don't think they realized it until they got to making Skyfall, where they were like, all right, Quantum is just kind of a bit of a derailment. It feeds into the longer form storyline, but what we're not really getting into is a more personal storyline with Bond. Yes, Bond is seeking revenge in Quantum of Solace for the death of his
Vesper.
of his Vesper, Vesper Lind. But it seems to kind of fall at the wayside for just like, I don't know, chaotic action and editing and style and stuff, and it starts to be, I feel, a story-wise derailment. But yeah, why am I still talking about this? I don't know. Let's shift it. I can see Tony just kind of very pensively just being like, don't fucking talk about superhero movies around me, John.
No.
You don't fucking know superhero movies, John.
No, not at all. Because
I'm fucking with you.
I know you are.
Okay, shoot the guy.
Yeah. Because the thing is, I personally like the interconnectivity of the Daniel Craig movies, but I understand that there are fans who would prefer them not to do that, and I absolutely, and I'd be hard pressed to disagree with you there.
Oh,
I guess, yeah, the only I guess this, for lack of a better word, disagreement I would have is that it was just because of the way the timeline worked out, that Casino and Quantum already came out by the time Iron Man came out. I just I don't think it's necessarily, that's the only thing. It's like I don't necessarily think it would be fair to put it on the Marvel universe, but I would definitely think it's fair to say Marvel Cinematic Universe. But to your point, to kind of look at like the trend of superhero movies was leading up to that point of Casino Royale. So I think it was just more the idea. It's like, well, these sequels and uh, are seem to be becoming more of a thing now, where you watch the movie prior and it builds off of that.
well, you're also you're coinciding one release with the release of another, like that Eon just looked at Iron Man and was just like, oh yeah, we need to do that. No. Eon, Barbara Broccoli, producers in general, they all like to talk bullshit, and drink and hang out and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk about the things they're working on and talk about the things that their friends are working on. So it was known in the ethos throughout Hollywood, like, oh fuck, this Paul Feige guy,
Yeah.
he's got plans. He's not just making an Iron Man movie. He's making more than just an Iron Man franchise. He's doing more. And that once that got in the air, a lot of other studios were like, we're gonna have to do something about that. Warner Brothers was a little slow to pick up the ball,
Yeah,
but
that's true.
that's the thing. Barbara Broccoli was looking to reinvent, rebrand, and was seeing what someone else was doing and was like, I think we might be able to try that. Let's try like a longer form story.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I guess, and also to your point, it wouldn't be impossible that it's not, impossible to consider that. Okay, they had that conversation, like, well, we see what Marvel's going to do. Let's try to do that here. But also,
I think the evidence
but
really is,
also,
frankly,
let me just get this out, Rick, please. But also, what Nolan was doing with Batman Begins, where it's like,
that's
wait,
what I was gonna say.
there you go. Like, wait, so we can just start over and not have to refer to any of the previous movies? Like, okay, let's do that with Bond. And then it was kind of like, it might actually, and to your point, John, it might actually be an amalgam of the two, where they kind
Yeah.
of like, okay, we can reboot. Wait, we can actually take the opportunity to do a longer form story. Like, so yeah, that could be definitely the case.
Yeah. I mean, they were looking for reinvention, and I think they just kind of had to look over their shoulders and see what was going on. And they certainly took inspiration. Yeah. I mean, it's we should stop ruminating about the Craig era. Like, we talk enough about those movies. We should talk about No Time to Die. This is supposed to be like specifically a review. I started to kind of derail into nonsense. So please just get the mic away from me because I don't have any food in me. Yeah,
You're gonna eat the mic.
I might. I'm not saying I will. I'm just saying I might.
Well, to pick it up, I guess, from where the overall arc, I think people are having a big problem with Bond dying because it's like, well, wait a minute.
I don't know. I haven't
fan-
really heard a lot of complaints.
I've seen, like, and I've been looking at the audience, at where I work and whatnot, and you see some people that are moved and other people walking out being like, fucking Bond's not supposed to die.
Yeah,
You
but
know?
I think that they got to think about it because also to add to my story about seeing with my friend, she was walked out pissed, but then 2 days later she walked up to me at work and she was like, I thought it over and that fucking movie rocked. And I was like, see, just kind of had to sit on it. It's a big emotional change for people that are so used to getting what they want, especially out of a franchise that just always delivers like all these staples.
Well,
and he never dies.
Well, even I was sitting there when we saw it. I was like, there's going to be like a big helicopter that shows up for him, right? Like, there's going to be some big, something is going to grab him, the machine god's showing up, right?
I mean, that's kind of the that's what you are built to anticipate with these movies, definitely.
Yeah, but it's not logical because I think one thing I think the movie might sort of overemphasize is the fact that he gets poisoned by Safin, and it's if like that's the reason he's dying. Like people who are
Yeah.
not realizing, it's like he's also bleeding out. He's been shot twice,
Oh, he can live through that.
and not superficial wounds. Like
I know.
I mean, like Cary Fukunaga, shows him the blood dripping, and I think that's the emphasis. Also, it's like it's not just about like I can't touch anybody. I guess I'll
No. This is that, and they're totally right. That shot, that close up of the drops of blood towards the end, are entirely. That is the visual language of like it is time to die,
Yeah.
but
No,
it may not be the right time.
I mean, Rick, you're absolutely right that I mean he was destined for death. By the time he got shot, but I think that there's something to be said.
Twice.
The most, yeah, twice, more than once, actually. But I think there's something about
You only get shot twice.
You only get shot.
He gets
twice.
shot like 3 times, doesn't he?
A little bit.
Maybe.
Yeah, he gets plugged.
He's
I'm
bleeding
like,
out. That's my point.
Stafford
but-
shoots him like a bitch.
No, but the movie's not called "You Only Live Thrice." It's only live twice. So that's where we got to go. The joke. You know what I mean?
Eh,
You only live
I do have to
twice.
say,
Only
I
Thrice.
think almost an even more appropriate title for this, but I think they would have just like it doesn't work. I mean, No Time to Die is an excellent title for the themes of this film, but I would say that a really good alternate title would kind of be No Time to Live, because that's the real tragedy of James Bond that they explore in this. He never really got to have a life,
No, he didn't.
and
No,
that
except-
is, I
except
think.
except with Madeline.
Yes, but that, no time even for that, really. That was here and there. And then he has to abandon her, say goodbye, never again. They get reunited through odd circumstances. It is a tragedy. I mean, that was the thing I think I recognized the most about the ultimate arc for this whole series. And then ultimately this movie is like, it is the tragedy of James Bond is what this series is.
No, absolutely. And John, to your point, and to go back to what Rick was talking about, I think he, you as in the audience, yeah, it might make the logical acknowledgement, like, well, he's been shot a couple times already, he's bleeding out. But I think but I think the idea of like the poisoning and him reckoning with that was really Bond making the choice that he's not going to try and make it back. That it was about if he had gotten shot twice, he might have logically speaking probably would have bleeded out and died.
Yeah, he would float in the water.
Yeah, he would have still tried to make it to Madeline and Mathilde and to do his thing again. But the idea of the poisoning was him actually going through the motions like, oh shit, like I'm totally out of options. And that doesn't happen to James, that doesn't happen to 007.
I think that's what people are emotionally reacting to. They're just like,
exactly.
wait, what? It's like, yeah, you got to reckon with that the way he's reckoning with that.
Yeah, exactly. John, you speak about how your friend was pissed when she saw it. My dad fucking hated this movie.
Well, but I think I don't know if you heard the rest. I think you stepped away for a second, but my friend came back around 2 days later and was just like, yeah. So she ended up loving it. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, absolutely. And because and he didn't have any such reckoning where because I checked in with him, it's like, so he's still mad until like that fucking movie sucks. Okay, the movie sucks. And I asked him why he hated it. It's like they went with the obvious thing. Like, why would you go with the obvious thing? I'm like, okay. I don't see how in 24 out of the 25 movies he's in, he survives to save the day. And this is the one movie where he actually dies. I don't see how that's the obvious thing.
I don't know what Bond movies you've been watching. Every one I watch, he dies at the end.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. But yeah, he fucking hated it. But that's the thing. I don't think. I think if I were to actually have a nuanced conversation with him, he would say he would acknowledge that the movie does things very well. He just hates that he dies. And that but I think that kind of speaks to the movie's efficacy, that it's like, well, you're actually telling a very emotional, moving tale. Like
and I find the movie actually quite uplifting because Bond isn't going like, he's not like, oh, God damn it, I'm so sorry, and then he blows up or anything like that, like he's accepting his fate because he's also left something better in the world.
Yeah,
his daughter.
Yeah,
and like he's fulfilled his oath as a knight of honor.
Yeah.
For queen and country.
I think he also
And-
ended up discovering a lot about himself. Not to cut you off, but like he never knew that he wanted to have a family or fall in love in those things. It just
I think he never thought he would have a shot at that. That's
exactly.
why he's so thankful to her. He's just like, you and your great ass have really given me a lot to think about and live for and all that. And she's like, you're very rude. And he's like, sorry.
You're very rude. I like that.
Come here, blonde man. And like it reminds me of the ending of like Carlito's Way, where it's like, okay, yeah, he's dying, but like he's happy. Not happy to be dying.
I really would have loved if they did a voiceover at the
The last of the Mohicans. Yeah.
That's
but it's Al
James
Pacino. Yeah.
I could have had a shot there. Maybe they could have thrown in some cable or some line from some B-52 or something from I don't know where. I don't know. I don't know what they got going on.
I guess there's no time, baby.
There's no time, baby.
No time.
No time.
That's a very astute. I was reminded of a movie that I can't mention anymore, but yeah, I was
liar.
No. Just like the idea of the heroic ending, and whatever you guys are.
Oh, they Dark Knight rised his ass, but thankfully they didn't pull a little switcheroo where he's sitting in a cafe bullshitting.
I was more thinking about The Last Jedi, but the idea of like,
You thought Bond was gonna fade away?
Yeah, why not? He's over the radio. It's just like, Madeline, I will not be the last Jedi, and then just kind of fades away. No, but just the idea, like
I would have pissed on the screen.
Ripped off a piece of the screen and wiped your ass with it. But no, just the idea of like the hero sacrificing himself for something greater, and in this case, I actually like.
Make no mistake, yeah, he saves the world.
Yeah, he saves the world. But but the sacrifice that he makes isn't just to save the world, but it's also the world, meaning the macro, and also the micro in terms of his daughter, and the fact that he's leaving something behind.
Yeah, the last shot is the car going into the tunnel, but the real last shot is the look on his daughter's face.
Yeah, that really is. Yeah,
that's his legacy. It's like he's really left the world a better man.
Yeah.
And fulfilling his destiny.
And damn it, Bond will return.
Yes, and that's
a zombie.
That's
kill me. I can't move.
The ending at the end of the credits, it says James Bond will return. Now, I have my personal one of two theories I think is most likely. My first theory is that they're just going to go back there. This will be the Daniel Craig era, and they'll start again, but starting in the milieu of like a Brosnan, where it's like, okay, yeah, we have a new M, we have a new Q, but we're just starting fresh. No origin story, but this is a new mission, and each subsequent movie will be a new mission. That, or I know John, Rick, and I have had our disagreements about the Roger Mapplethorpe theory up until this point. However,
it's Roger Thornhill.
Roger Thornhill. Sorry, Roger Thornhill.
Roger Maple Syrup Thorn.
But we had disagreements about the Roger Thornhill theory up until this point. I think it's been kiboshed with every Bond up until this point. However, this could be setting the stage for that James Bond becomes the code name for whoever is currently 007 at that time.
Well, and this movie did also really illustrate that 007 is just a number.
The number.
So I thought that was really interesting, and I was curious what you guys thought about that, because I think it kind of just goes to show I should be producing movies. I have great fucking ideas, and sometimes I see those things show up on the screen, sometimes for better or worse, good or bad. But I think they've got to take it in a different direction, and I'm curious what you guys think they're gonna do next. It kind of goes hand in hand, but yeah.
Rick, why don't you give your thoughts on that first before I continue?
I kind of don't care. What I mean by that is that this one was I kind of am of the moment of if this is the last James Bond movie I ever see, I'm fine with that. And not because I hate the series, it's just this was so fulfilling as a story, as an overall arc, not even just for the Craig era, but just for the myth the mythology of James Bond itself
Mhm.
to me. Well, there was like little references and callbacks. All the time in the world becomes the love theme again. It's like finally fulfilling the promise of Bond being in love,
Yeah.
you know, and getting a family. And of course, you can't have that. That's not how tragedy works, you know. But in terms of like the what Eon's plans are, I mean, I don't know. The sky's the limit. They can go back to a lighter tone,
Yeah.
make him a younger dude, have a more frivolous tone to it. Make it, I don't know. They can make it a fucking horror movie for all they could do. You know, like
I hope they do a retro period Bond. That's
they
what
could do a
I'm-
retro thing. They can go in fucking like I think the sky's the limit with them, and I think they're gonna wait. And
Were you gonna say space?
yeah, I did say space.
I
It's science fiction. He's traveling to planet Gamora, whatever the fuck, you know. I don't know.
no,
There's a lot, you know, but he's still in a tux.
He's like a Buzz Lightyear fighting the Blofeltians.
Yeah, like it's just insane. It's just like what the fuck?
to infinity and Bond and beyond.
And Bond and beyond. Yeah. Fuck you, rival podcast. And
I was
so
thinking
like
tagline to Spy Who Loved Me, but no.
I guess I don't have any specific ideas. I'm very open to it because I'm kind of sitting on this.
That's
one
cool
right now.
though. I think that says a lot. Like you sound very fulfilled by
Yeah.
this, and like you said, I feel very similarly. Like I don't need any more James Bond movies after this. Come up with something more original. I'm good. That's a long run. That's good. I
It's a hell of
know.
a run.
I wouldn't say
That's-
no to more. You know,
Of course,
but
that's exactly my thing. I'm like, I'm not like eating. I'm not enjoying this nice meal and being like, can't wait for next dinner.
Yeah,
You know?
I
Like,
think
I'm-
it's definitely at a point where the franchise just did not have me eating out of its hand anymore, and I was very happy with what they left me with this last one. So yeah, I mean, I would be fine with no more.
I mean,
But we're gonna get more.
Yeah, I know we're gonna get more.
we're gonna get more. I mean, look, I have a really strong appetite for Bond. Always will. Always have. Always will. You know. My first Bond movie was in the theater was Diner of the Day, which is on the lower end for me. But I was still anticipating what are they gonna do next? What are they gonna do next? Um, I agree with you guys. This is probably the most fulfilling in terms of like an ending that a Bond movie will ever get, and which is great. Luckily, but I guess the idea of since there are going to be more, what I would prefer is that the character will always be Ian Fleming's James Bond 007 as Ian Fleming wrote him, but take the opportunity with each era to do something a little bit more left field. Like maybe whoever plays Bond next, that set of movies are set in the 60s and into the 70s, you know what I mean? Going back to going back to that time of espionage and cuz there's so much more that we know about the world of espionage that we didn't
They're
know
set.
back in the 60s. It would be cool
Mhm.
to revisit that, go to different eras or
The
that kind of
apocalypse.
thing.
I would love if they set him in the 50s so that
Yeah.
we can get that whole interconnectivity into like the 62 Bond and see just like maybe
Yeah.
not do the books, just do like do because we
Yeah.
did this. That's what they would like set out to do. I felt like when they did Casino Royale, they're like, all right, we did the first book, got that out of the way. Now we're gonna do the net. I mean, we already did them, so not gonna do them again. But what if we just
well,
fucking
they finally got the rights back to that book.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I realize that.
Yeah. So no, and yeah, of course. I'm cool with them not following the stories of the books, but the Bond character did debut in the 50s. It would be cool to have a couple of movies set.
I just think like the all the gadgetry and stuff. I
Yeah.
know I guess like obsess over that in these movies, but like I really do feel like it's a fundamental, and I really want to talk about in No Time to Die where we're at with the gadgets, of course, because
For sure.
Smart Blood. I mean, we use Smart Blood in every single one of these movies, and it ends up being fucking useless every time. Yeah, let's keep talking.
No, all right. So, John, you wanted to talk about the gadgets about this movie. There were some cool ones, and I like So why don't you take up this is your area of interest.
Yeah, I'm the Q
You're the
branch of
Q,
the
man. You're
show.
the Q. You're the Q.
First of all, I've really kind of been whatever about Q in this series. Like, I think the actor who plays him is fine. He's the nerd, but that's like, I don't think he brings a lot of personality in. I think that the directors kind of have to do that. And I think Cary Fukunaga did a good job with him this time around, where he's trying to have a nice little, play date at home. And then like Bond and Moneypenny come in and interrupt that shit for him and then give him the missing data that he wanted, and so he gets to like fish around in there, but has to do work even though he wants to have a life of his own. And you kind of see that come up later at the end of the movie where he's like remote on the plane and he's got his pajama top on under like his coat and everything while he's working. So they don't show you, but like they clearly just pulled him right out of bed and they're like, all right, you have to come with us, and then like threw him on the plane and stuff. But when they're on the plane, he like hooks him up with all the gadgets for his final confrontation with Safin, and gives him the EMP watch by Omega, as well as the Smart Blood. You know what Smart Blood is, and then was there another one that I'm forgetting? They give him that sweet ass glider jet, which
Yeah.
I thought looked great. Reminded me so much of the opening of Escape from New York. And then when I was watching the second time around, because I went and saw this movie twice, I saw it again with Rick, and we were sitting in the theater, and I'm looking at the canopy of the glider, and I look right at Rick, and I'm like, the glider canopy looks just like the canopy from the nuclear submarine from Escape from LA. Like, exactly. I mean, you can do a side-by-side comparison. We don't have a video element to this video, but if I did, I would show you, and you would see the light, and you'd see that Cary Fukunaga loves the work of John Carpenter. But then, do you guys remember what the Smart Blood does? Because I don't.
Yeah, it's basically nanobots, tiny, 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 and they are designed and programmed to target certain DNA.
You're talking about the weapon.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Smart Blood that Q provides James Bond in every one of these Daniel Craig movies.
Yeah. So yeah, the idea of the Smart Blood is that it if you're an active agent, it keeps track of where you are.
You don't just give him a cell phone.
Who knows? Yeah, there you go. Well, they can destroy itself. But I think the idea was that because
the nanobots make him stronger.
No. I think the idea was because if you remember Casino Royale, they implant that device into him. But the
Hey, just take the mic a little away from your face. It's just coming in a little too loud there.
All right, sorry.
That's cool. It's cool.
Okay. So in Casino Royale, they had the device that they put into his arm that Le Chiffre takes out. And I think the idea was that because that was something that even could be easily taken out, is that they do the Smart Blood, where whenever they're on mission, so they can keep track of them, but
it's not something that can be detected by an enemy.
Exactly. So,
right.
You know what I mean? And, and the idea was it actually works very well, but it's like Inspector, he kind of like bullies Q a little bit into be like, hey, so it could be wrong for like, say 48 hours, giving me just enough time to do what I'm not supposed to be doing. And in this one, it's like, the signal only reaches so far. And then they step, but it helps the storytelling when they realize, oh shit, this is a bomb shelter. So we're gonna blow this. So we're gonna blow this up. We got to make sure that, it's as vulnerable as possible. So, that was always. So I felt like the Smart Blood had like a place in the story.
Yeah, I just think it's boring. I think they can get more creative with the gadgets, but I think that's just kind of been this era of Bond movies. And, like the EMP watch is fucking cool. And the way that they use it in this movie is fucking cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really fun payoff, especially to like another gadget that belonged to Spectre. Like I love Blofeld's, bionic eye that he passes off to the unnamed henchman. Did he have a name? I don't remember.
Mr. I.
Mr. Oculus. Dr. Oculus.
Doc Ock.
Yeah. I mean, I have my complaints always about gadgetry from time to time, but I think like this one, did fine with just being basic and practical and realistic, and I guess that's fun.
I mean, it was just enough. It was just enough to like. That's what I'm. For me, it was just enough to like. Hey, here's a gadget. Here's the thing. It's not like.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not outlandish like you guys complain about in Die Another Day. It's subtle. It's just a watch. It's small. It's like the attaché case.
I do want that watch.
Good luck.
Well, Omega is actually selling one now.
How much?
I mean, it's not a legit EMP watch, but
Well, I figured that.
it's Omega prices.
Yeah, you're gonna blow like fucking kill your friend with an EMP pulse. Like, hey man, good to see you. Jesus God.
I really liked when the Spectre agents broke into that MI6 laboratory to recover the
That was an awesome sequence. Yeah.
that scene was so good.
Really,
And I loved the magnetized bodysuits that they just show you everything visually and you just understand. And then also that little hint at the end for people that don't understand what's happening, where the scientist goes, "Oh, magnets," and falls down. And I loved that whole scene. That was a really well executed scene without James Bond in it, and it really drew me in.
Can I be completely honest?
Yeah.
When I first watched, when I first watched that scene, what was the first thought that went through my brain was, John's gonna fucking love this.
Yeah, I did. I loved it. I loved all the supporting actors in this movie as well. And the guy who played the Russian scientist, I thought was so fucking funny, and so
He kind of steals the movie.
He does. Every time he's on screen, he's fucking great.
He's just like, oh no, you can't do that.
I love when he runs into Anna de Armas and he's just like, "Are you with the Seven? Oh no, oh okay, I run now," and fucking books it.
It was a little bit of comedy that people might be like, "What the fuck? There was comedy in Spectre and you hated that." It's like, yeah, but that was ill-timed. Like this was like nice.
Exactly.
Like this was of the tone of the whole Cuba thing is light and fun. The whole Cuba section, even though they take out Spectre, it's like Bond and the interactions with Anna are flirtatious, but it's also platonic.
And teammates. Professional. They're both professional, and I like that. And I like that Anna de Armas, like, she checks him out for a second, but she's like, "But I'm on mission. I'm not fucking around.
I 3 weeks train," and then she's fucking capping motherfuckers.
I thought it was great. I thought it was great. And what's funny?
He pours a drink for her. It's really good bits in it.
It's
they pour a drink. Yeah, they take a break to have a drink, take a shot essentially.
Yeah.
And then he just like fixes his fucking cuffs as Bond does, and then picks up his fucking submachine gun and just goes about, doing the job.
And what's funny is that because Spectre tried to do that thing where it was blending it tried to blend the more thoughtful nature of the Daniel Craig era, but with some of the fun from frankly, the Roger Moore era, or even the Brosnan era, and it failed. It really didn't hit the mark. This sequence alone hit the mark in that respect. Like that, that Russian scientist character wouldn't be out of place in one of the Roger Moore films, and yet he feels right at home in this film, which overall tonally is very different from the Roger Moore films, but he does feel. Like, he does feel, it feels appropriate for that character to be there. I think all the characters kind of feel a lot. I think all the side characters do kind of have a sense where I feel like they harken back to a different era of Bond. Paloma feels, who's Ana de Armas' character, feels like a really cool callback from. From the Brosnan era, where it was like very capable, very, kick-ass, but also like wasn't afraid to look stunning. You know what I mean? I felt like that was a throwback to that. I felt the Nomi character was a throwback to without the romantic overtones, so like Pussy Galore, where it's like all about business. You know what I mean? And I don't know. That's because I'm such a huge Bond fan. I'm reading a little too much into it, but like I think
all of those elements are really not. Yeah. I mean, it may not be like direct echoes.
No, of course not.
But it's like, hey, I think Fukunaga, unlike well, I don't want to bash, but like unlike some past directors, really is a Bond fan and was trying to really, I think, succeeded in bringing it into the now while still honoring what the spirit and the character, not just the character itself, but the character of the movies are like.
Yeah, no, I agree.
The end. Um,
No, I agree. I think that this character is this movie is really chock full with some really really great side characters. Shout out to my man Jeffrey Wright because he also, just like Bond, has a really nice arc in these movies. Felix Leiter finally has a really strong arc that carried through him an era that was really insanely well done, and man, he does a great job. And I'm calling it. He's my favorite Felix Leiter with a bullet. He's fantastic.
Like there's no competition.
No, it's not even close.
Other than maybe what's his name? Jack Lord?
Yeah, Jack Lord.
The OG.
Yeah, the very first one. But that was the thing. Even that one, that was his only performance as Felix Leiter, and
as we talked about, he gave the impression that he's there's another movie that he's the star of.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. More so than any other Felix.
Dude, Amazon should just do a fucking Felix Leiter series.
That would be cool. I would love to see that.
Yeah. I wanted to just add. I think my favorite performances out of the movie are. I think Craig does a great job, but I really loved Rami Malek. I loved everything he did because I felt like they put the whole story is there, to work with, but I think his performance like elevates that material just a little bit more.
Yeah,
I think he's really good in it, and I know I've heard from people being like, I don't like the makeup. I was like, hey, he doesn't look older when he catches up with Léa Seydoux. I'm like, but his fucking face is fucked up. How is he supposed to age?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you don't really know you don't fucking know how he's going to look when he's older after all of his fucking nerves have been damaged from some terrible poisoning episode. Like, maybe he just can't age properly.
Also, more to the point, when we first see him, he has a mask on, so we have no semblance of how young he looks.
That's
like,
true.
Who cares?
And I felt like that was a good pass for that in some regard. I think he did a great job, and I think out of all the villains in the Craig Bond series, he's probably like second place performance for me, just behind Mads Mikkelsen.
This guy has an entire island making a bunch of fucking poisonous chemicals. The guy can't make a face cream and a hair dye.
No, exactly.
He's totally using Just for Men, obviously.
No, obviously. I think I would still put him behind Silva, with Mads Mikkelsen being first, no question. I think he's fantastic. But I do love his performance. I agree with that. I think the criticism being thrown that character's way are pretty dog shit. Like, I don't agree with them at all. We got to really, I love the set. This is probably overall pound for pound might be the strongest supporting cast that Craig has had in any of the films. Casino Royale included. Just because I think that there's a bigger cast surrounding him, and they're all kind of firing on all cylinders.
Can I just say, like, I do wish that they had done something more with Ana de Armas, because like her walk on was exciting, and I really loved, like, she kind of stole the show when she came on, and it was really fun. I guess leaving me wanting more is not a bad thing, and we did have to keep things toned and concentrated on the story because the movie is long, like so much happens. But you never, I know, Rick, you were mentioning earlier, there's like a pacing issue around the second act when things start to lull.
Issue. I wouldn't say pacing, almost it's just a little bit of energy, but that's okay because, for the purpose of the story, that's when it kind of calms down a bit, and that's all right. Mm-hmm. It's just a feeling, like you can feel that it's kind of like putting its feet up for a little bit, and then,
Okay, I get it.
then
So-
shit'll happen after
So
that.
not necessarily a lag, but more like, okay, we're gonna take a break on constantly hitting you with.
There's a lot of planning
I
to
think
be
that makes
done.
sense.
There's a lot of investigating to be done. I mean, this movie, as far as
And
like,
reconciliations
Mhm.
specifically,
well, I think also as like a spy thriller, this movie does a lot of plotting and like and in good ways. There are great twists. I loved that the Logan Ash character was like a double cross.
Yeah,
And that was a great spin. And they made him like really super psychotic with his crazy smile and shit.
No,
And
Billy Magnussian is really good.
yeah, he's good. And
If I had to
I
nitpick, I kind of would have wished he stayed the henchman.
in a lot of ways, he does just become like the hidden right hand style henchman, which chopped me up because I found out. Okay, so I'm looking at the cast here. The character, the Cyclops character, his name is
Yeah.
Primo, but in
Primo.
parentheses it says Cyclops. But I thought he was gonna be the right hand henchman of the movie, but he ends up just being a buyout
Yeah.
for Safin, and his real right hand is Logan Ash. And
yeah,
I was always kind of curious, like what his relationship with Safin was. We never had the time to go into that. I don't know. It's just such a killer cast and such interesting characters. It's just such a good movie, guys.
no, it's a great movie, and I think the very idea that that we want to know, there's certain characters that we wanted to know more of, and we were that interested in. It just speaks to, how strong the cast is, and how we want to know more about Logan Ash. We wanted more of Ana de Armas, but at the same time, we also got to spend. We all, one can argue that sometimes you have to, nip a good time with a certain character short if we have an emotional through line that needs to be carried over with the rest of the cast, like Madeline, like Mathilde, like Moneypenny, even. A lot of M's in this movie. M, Mathilde, Madeline.
We didn't
Mallory.
even talk about the
Yeah.
death of Blofeld. How did you guys feel about that?
Bye.
I kind of felt like it's a bit of a wet fart.
That's what I mean. Good riddance.
But yeah, I mean, like, I wasn't really a big fan of the way they wrote Blofeld Inspector anyway, and that whole
Yeah.
idea. I felt like that was like a big, ugh. I just wanted to get over with that shit.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really expecting, and it's such a shame because Christoph Waltz is so good, and it feels like a waste in some regard that he's just kind of given this kind of,
No.
I don't know, homage like member berry character, and I
Yeah.
ugh.
The one.
They
one-
wrap him up. They wrap him up in a fine way. I feel like in this movie,
Yeah.
like his story was over in Spectre.
Yeah.
The little baby that wasn't loved and all that stuff, and now it's like, okay, one last little taunt, and Bond is very much just like,
Yeah.
shut the fuck up and die
Wh-
already.
what I-
Really.
The one thing I will say is, and I think this is actually a good place to wrap up the episode on, or at least this point, rather, not what I'm about to say, but the point is that this scene with Blofeld is definitely more memorable than any scene that he had in Spectre.
Give you that.
So, there's something I like to throw out that there's something to be said about that. That being said, I completely agree with you guys that it was kind of like probably one of the weaker points of the movie, because it does more so than even the Madeline storyline really depends on the momentum from Spectre, and there really wasn't much there in terms of the Blofeld character. So
I still think Fukunaga did a great job threading in Blofeld within the storyline and making it relevant. And also his plot to kill Bond at the Spectre party was very classic James Bond. I love that there's the guy walking around with the pillow presenting the eye to look at everything for Blofeld. That stuff is so inspired. I
Yeah.
loved that.
Love that stuff.
I think Fukunaga did so well with what he had laid out for him coming off of Spectre. And having to thread that in, because also remember, Madeline is a character purely from Spectre.
Yeah.
And that is that this is going to be the character we end up with as the love of his life, is he did a great job building up from that story.
No, for sure. I mean, I think it helps that I didn't necessarily buy the love story Inspector, but I bought the lust story Inspector, and Fukunaga really did a great job of turning that
Yeah.
into a love story. But I think, and John, I honestly think that that's a great observation to make. And you know what? We're actually going to end it there. And I think the fact that we could probably go another 2-3 hours talking about this movie bodes well for when we do our proper discussion episode. Because there's so much we didn't touch on, like the actual story, the music. But I think it's safe to say that
Orgy?
we really enjoyed this movie. Go ahead, Rick.
The orgy.
No orgy, no orgy, unfortunately. But
I don't know what version you saw.
but you know what? We're gonna revisit this very soon as part of the when we get to the podcast proper. Rick, John, thank you guys so much for taking the time so we could talk about this great movie. And you know, we want to thank you guys, the listeners, for sticking with us. And as always, Bond will return, and we will be there when he does. Our podcast, you know his name, will return on October 30th with our discussion of Quantum of Solace, and also our discussion of the Indiana Jones series, which was got some pretty heated hot takes in that one. But I think it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a fun one to listen to. So, John, Rick, thank you. And we will see you guys next time. Let's say goodbye to listeners, guys.
Bye.
Bye, listeners.
Love
right.
you.
Love you. All right, just remember. All right, remember. Stay safe, everyone, and remember, nobody does it better. Good night.
My Cash App is.
My Venmo is. All right.